Welcome to the Clifton Whirly Show. This week we have Whirlybirds, Nick and Josh. What's up, guys?
Hey, Clifton.
Hi, Clifton.
We've had a kind of interesting week. We were talking about this a minute ago, and so I just want to get started off on updating you guys, kind of what's going on in our world, and I guess we'll go with you, Josh, first.
Well, I had an interesting start to my week, with Sunday being the first day of the week. I was getting ready to play for worship, and I was using my Ibanez, my Talman, and I strapped on, and I got everything set up, and then I kind of moved a little bit, and the strap let go at the back, at the bottom of the guitar, and I didn't have my hand in a place where I could catch it, so the thing dropped
Oh
hard
no.
on the high E tuner, the locking tuner,
Mhm.
and it snapped the tuner right off, along with like the shaft that goes inside of it.
Mm.
So this is like 10 minutes before it's time. We'd already kind of gotten more before it was time to start actually practicing, and so there was no way I could go home and grab another guitar. And I kind of played it, and I'm like, oh man, it's kind of all out of tune. Everything is. And so what I did is I kind of tuned it up as best I could, but I got to that high E, and I'm like, what am I going to do here? And so I pushed that tuner on just as hard as I could, and managed to get it into tune, because like just the peg and the shaft broke off, but you can kind of twist it back in there. And so yeah, I managed to get it in tune. But then I was thinking, me 10 years ago, the 10 years ago guy that was just starting out playing at church, and his last experience had been like playing in bands and stuff, would have freaked out.
Mm.
Would have been so angry, and it would have ruined his whole day. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think that for me this week, I've really realized I'm a different person now than I was back then, where, because that's a pretty, you're going to be playing and you have no chance. I would have probably just dropped my guitar and walked off, 10 years ago. Well, I guess I'm not meant to play, rather than trying to find a solution. But
Yeah, I don't think I'd have
I,
been that savvy.
yeah. See, I just laughed it off, and I'm like, well, hey, I can tune it. I can tune it, and it works. And we ended up having a fine time, and I got home, and I took the tuner apart and managed to get it back together in a way that it works. And so I'm just going to bring a spare guitar and see how long this tuner lasts. But yeah, it was kind of lame to have that happen like 10 minutes before. So that's my what's new this week.
You should have broke the guitar.
Yeah, actually, if I was 16, I probably would have been really, really like that.
Just two-handed Hendrixed it right across the pew. That would have been epic.
That would have been funny. Yeah, and it was weird because at first I thought, well, nothing's wrong with it, and then I looked at then I started to turn that tuner, and it kind of snapped off, and it was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it's the high E, and you're using those top three strings a lot when you're playing electric. But yeah, thankfully, it tuned up and it stayed in tune the whole time, and I got it home and got it fixed kind of for right now. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll last the rest of its life like that,
Somebody needs
Now,
to write
so,
a book one day called like Field Guide for Guitarists. That
Yeah.
goes through like these scenarios, worst case scenarios, and how to fix them out in the field.
Yeah.
You
And it's
could-
funny
you could-
because go ahead.
I was going to say you could call it like, instead of like, oh crap, that could be like the name. But if it was a worship edition, it could be holy crap.
Holy crap.
I really need
The
to
old
get
guide
that
for everything that can happen with a guitar.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
also had that been a Gibson, it would have exploded.
That's it's funny because the drummer said, at least it wasn't a Gibson, and the drummer I think that's the other guitar brand he knows besides Fender. And I said, yeah, you know what? If that had happened with a Gibson, the whole neck would have blew off, and the headstock would have blown apart, and
Many
But
tears
yeah, I
would have
mean-
been
And the
had.
CEO
Yeah.
would have called you on the phone and told you were stupid.
told me that I was stupid. No, you know what? It was funny because yeah, and it was just for me, it was a really eye-opening thing to see how differently I reacted to it, because it didn't ruin my day like it would have 10 years ago.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What about you guys? What's new?
It was going to be me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know I think you guys are rubbing off on me. I've been like all about, forever the Mojo thing with me just sounding like me no matter what and playing like junkier guitars and getting like a lot out of them and modding everything and you know what I have is fine. I do like I mean I've grown to really like my beard now that I've got the my resonator, now that I've got the Manel strings on there. And I put those on my Stella last night actually and changed the nut, and that guitar sounds a lot different too and plays really well. But a resonator always sounds like a resonator no matter what you do. And I really want a nice plain flat top acoustic. And I've been kind of gathering up a list, and I've been sharing this with you guys kind of along the way. But I was pretty convinced I wanted a Martin. I'm like, I want to buy a nice guitar. Something, and I mean, I don't have a big budget, but I could wrangle around $700 to $800, and that would give me a nice playing guitar with solid wood. So I had like a little list that accumulated. I played a bunch of guitars. I did a bunch of research, and I thought about a lot about what I've been playing over the years and what I liked about certain guitars and acoustics I've had and whatnot. And I really liked I think what I like is a 14 fret neck at the body, and so I have a little bit of access, and I think that's like the perfect fret amount for me. When they join at the 12, it's okay. It's kind of like that classic thing, but it's not. It's hard for me to get below that, and sometimes I just want to get below that just for texture or for a one string lead or whatever I'm going to do. So that's one of the things. I had to have a parlor or a concert body, like an OM style guitar. They're comfortable for me. I play with the guitar actually kind of braced up against my leg in front of my body, like a classical player. So I like that kind of the feel of a parlor or an OM. So I definitely do. I hate playing dreadlocks. I'm not a big fan of jumbos. So that was like the second thing. The third thing is it had to be solid woods, and I wanted an X-braced pattern. I just kind of dig that sound. Possible, the fourth thing, a satin neck, not a glossy neck, because I get really caught up on glossy necks. Like when you're playing slide, you can't be just like your thumb constantly going up and down a glossy neck. That just, my resonator has that, drives me crazy. I wanted to sand it down a million times. And it might end up happening in the future because there's no way I'm ever selling that guitar. I've ruined it too much. And the other thing was, I think I wanted something mahogany. I really like the sound of a mahogany guitar. And all the Martins that have been drawing me the most attention, like have been the 0015. I've always kind of been attracted to that Martin or the I think it's the D18 too, like all of the mahogany kind of stuff. And I was really looking at it. I was looking at a Guild 120, and I really like the Guild 120, and I've never played one though. And the important, another thing that's really important to me is the radius. So it has to be kind of flat because I'm a slide player, and even I'm used to playing like a kind of a flat radius. I also like kind of a wider neck at the nut. So I've been on this journey trying to worked out. Well, today I walked into RIT just to see what they had in there, and they don't carry Martins or Gibsons or anything like that. Sometimes they'll get something I can sign them. They don't carry Guild. They carry Fender. They carry Yamaha. They carry Art and Lutherie and Siegel and all of those. So I sat down and I played an Art and Lutherie parlor, and I played a couple high-end Siegels, and I played a couple Simon and Patricks, and I was like, all of these play good. I've had Siegels and Simon and Patrick's and Art and Lutherie's guitars before though, and I feel like they kind of have a low ceiling. Like when you really get into them, because of the cedar tops they have, they kind of bottom out, like they or top out. They they start to not get any louder. You know what I mean? They just kind of just distort. And I'm like, these are, I can work with it, but if I'm going to go and buy another guitar and pay a decent amount of money for it, I'm not going to spend it on something I already know. Like I'm going to get something new. Well, I took this Yamaha LL16 off the wall, and I've never considered Yamaha guitars in my life. I know that the Yamaha FG, like the 100 series, is like a famous series where people have started on those, and they're good. But The LL series is solid woods. I played the mahogany folk, so it had everything I talked about. So I picked it up off the wall and I started playing some chords on it, and then I tuned it up. I had my snark with me, and I had my picks and my slide and everything. So I tuned all that up and I started playing. And I played that. I mean, from the very first note, I played that guitar for 25 minutes, and I'm like, wow. Like if I was going to gig tomorrow, I would want it. It would need to be on this guitar. Like I would play this guitar. I wasn't even thinking when I played the guitar. I was just, and everything rung out. I mean, the strings were even kind of old and they were phosphor bronze and it was a little zingy for me, but I know I could change that. But the guitar played perfectly, $6.99 with case. And I think I really, really want it. So that's even less than I planned on spending. So I'm in kind of a dilemma now because I really want the guitar. I'm going to talk to my wife about it. We got tax returns coming. We've actually paid some debt down. I kind of want it. Like I can afford it. Sweetwater has the same guitar at I think it's 24 or 30 a month for zero interest for 36 months or something like that. And I could go that route and have the guitar by the weekend if my wife's okay with it and play it all this time and just keep throwing money at it and paying it off as quickly as possible. That wouldn't be a problem. Or I could put it on layaway at the local shop at 10% down and then pay it off within a couple months. But then I won't be able to play guitar till I get till it's paid off. But I'll be shopping locally. Now, here's my dilemma. I mean, the music shop in question is a good shop. I like the people that work there. I used to go there when I was in college when they were in a different location. They're pretty good. It's not like they've never known me by name or anything. I would say Rainbow Music is my shop. They don't carry this guitar though. They're a Taylor dealer. So I'm kind of at the point where like, if Jess is okay with it, if wifey buys into it, do I go through Sweetwater and do the interest plan so I can get the guitar early, or do I buy the guitar that I played that I know plays well from the local shop and just wait? What do you guys think about that?
Well, that's a tough one. I was in a very similar scenario when I was looking for my Martin Dread Jr. and I was pricing those out and calling around, and it really came down to the fact that Sam Ash was willing to give me the best price and the best financing versus I called my local shop and they wanted $100 more for the guitar, and would not budge. It was like, well, I'd love to do business with you. I go in there and try stuff out all the time, but I just can't justify the markup. Not when you got, that most of these, I would assume that most of the pricing from the companies to the dealers has to be the same price. I could be wrong.
You would think.
Yeah. Because, of MAAP pricing and all that stuff. So, I don't know. I'd like to support local business, but when they can't work with you,
They did work with me, though, because the price is $6.99 out the door with a case, and Sweetwater $6.99 out the door with a case. So it's like, if they match it, I was hoping that they would be higher so I could, justify it by saying, well, I'm going to get 100 less. If I go here, but they're there with it. So I'm kind of like, well, now I really don't have an excuse, save for the fact that, I can get the guitar early if I get it this way. And I'm also not required to pay it off in 3 months if I don't have to. It's going to be a lot easier for me to throw $100 on it a month rather than 3 payments of $200 or whatever that is,
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
Well, in my opinion, you really like that one guitar there, right?
I did. I really had two of them. They had two of them there, and I liked the one of them better than the other one.
And it sounded different between the two. Do you? Is that what is that?
It did to me. The finishes were just different. But I don't know. That one just maybe one of them had newer strings than the other one. I couldn't tell you, man. But I seem to really like that one the best. I'm kind of hard. I have a hard time believing though that they did anything to the guitars before they put them on the wall. None of those guitars are set up. So I know they're not setting them up. And there, if I was going to get a setup, it probably wouldn't be at that shop. It would probably be at a different shop. So it's not like, because I trust Rainbow and I would probably have them set the guitar up, but I wouldn't be taking this guitar into Rainbow because I didn't buy it from Rainbow. So
in my opinion, here's what you should do. There's a Guitar Center right in town. Did you check that the Guitar Center has that?
I did not go to Guitar Center
Because,
yet.
well, go to Guitar Center as well in Grand Rapids there. I know you're not that close to it, but if you can, there, because if they have that same model, then try another model right there, and they don't take care of it. And if you can hear, they're all pretty close, then hey, go with Sweetwater. You're probably not going to have those guys have RIT set it up anyway. That's what I would say. Try out at least one more of those guitars, since you're probably going to have it at Guitar Center as well. I would say go to Guitar Center and try to get them to do it, because they might give you an even better deal. But the problem is that if you want financing, you're not going to get it. Like the same way.
Well, unless you get the Guitar Center card, and I think the Guitar Center credit card is like they give you some kind of financing deal. It's like similar to Musician's Friend, right?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing this model guitar on Musician's Friend.
But they have Yamahas at Guitar Center themselves, I'm sure. I don't know if they have a model, but they do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's funny. The RD, the Dreadnought version is like $9.99. But yeah, I mean, I guess the story here is that I'm absolutely smitten with this guitar, and it's not just because I want to buy a guitar. It's like, I know I want a higher end acoustic, but it fits all the criteria, and it's a Yamaha, which really surprised me. Like, I'm usually kind of like, yeah, they're pretty good for beginners, but I've never played a high end Yamaha before. And I'm impressed. The fit and finish it just felt like a high quality guitar. The moment I picked it up, I was like, this feels like an heirloom kind of guitar. Like, it's going to age well with me over the years, and it's going to sound even better.
Yeah.
Thin finish, all that. Like,
that really sounds like it'll be your guitar. And man, if it's my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you probably ought to just go ahead and get the one at RIT, because acoustic guitars, they're so personal, and each one of them is different. I know when I picked my Martin, and it's just an OM1, it's not even an expensive one. The advantage of going to Elderly is I went through about 15 of them. I tried. I tried. I said, "Can you please? I know this is silly, but please bring me a of them out of the warehouse, because I have it right there." And so they're like, "Sure, no problem." And I ended up going with the first one that was sitting out there with the oldest strings and had the little imperfection in the grain and everything, because that's the one that just sounded right to me. It felt right to me. And you don't get to do that with Sweetwater, If you love that guitar, I mean, it's like that's going to be your life mate, and it's going to get rid of all this silly Mojo stuff you do, and we'll be able to stop doing this Mojo Minute thing and be all set.
Well, Mojo ain't going anywhere.
That's a joke. Now, one real quick thing, though, I will say about your beard. You may want to try, and I do this with all of my guitars, going wherever you happen to go, one of your fine merchant establishments, and purchasing some Scotch-Brite pads. Get the scratch-free ones, and the regular ones, the green ones and the blue ones, and rub them along the back of that neck. And the gloss won't go down if you start with the regular ones and move to the no scratch, but they'll feel like a satin neck after that. Really easy, and it's idiot proof, and you're not using steel wool right next to pickups and stuff, right next to other metal. It works awesome.
So the non-abrasive Scotch-Brite pads?
The regular Scotch-Brite, those little cheap green pads you get, like for scrubbing stuff.
Oh, just like a sponge?
No, they're just the green pads without the sponge on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You get the green ones and the blue ones. The blue ones are scratch-free. The green ones are regular. You get those things.
Will the one on the back of the sponge work too?
No, not as well, because you can't really wrap it as well. You get the cheapo ones. You go to like the dollar store or go to Walmart or wherever and find yourself the cheap ones and get the blue one and the green one. You start with the green one, which is a little more abrasive, and then you go to the blue one, and it's idiot proof, because you can find your right level of satin and just do that.
Yeah,
And
because I don't even, yeah, I don't even care how it looks.
no,
Like
you won't even see the difference.
Hmm.
You won't even
really
see the difference, and that's
the
what's
fin.
so cool about it.
Huh? I don't know how is that possible. Wouldn't the finish
Well,
at least look scuffed?
nope,
I mean,
because you're using that Scotch Brite stuff. Think about it. That's made for most of those things are even Teflon safe. So what it does is it basically takes that finish and it micro abrades it. It's kind of giving it a little bit of a exfoliation, and then you're all set. I'm telling
hmm,
you, I do that with all of my guitars. It makes a huge difference.
Hmm.
Um, they look the same, but they feel completely different on the back of the neck.
gotcha. Well, that's a good tip, man. I'll do that. That sounds awesome.
It's only $1 too. That's the cool part. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me. All right.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I mean,
I hate it when it gets gummed up back there. I just can't, I get stuck. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like,
yeah, and you
especially
use
when I
that
start
to
to
clean it.
sweat. Yeah.
Keep the
Uh,
blue one in your case and just wipe it every once in a while.
nice. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go till it's all down in the wood. That'd be hilarious.
No, that'd take doing it for hours and hours and hours with that. That's the problem with steel wool and sandpaper and all that. Is that it's not idiot proof, and I like everything to be idiot proof when I can.
Gotcha.
For sure. Yeah. So that's interesting, man. I never would have thought that you would go for like a Yamaha, because those are just the epitome of, precision and non uh, non mojo.
Is that
Don't
what
have
they're
the
known
mojo,
for?
they kind of
Are they known for? I thought Ibanez was known for that. Like, it.
on who's.
Yamahas are known for precision.
Oh goodness! I mean, not playing wise, but I mean, if you think about it, when you every Yamaha I've ever played, they've been top notch in the build quality. Even the cheap ones, you can get the cheap folk guitar ones, the cheapest ones you can get, and they're still right up there. I mean, they may not have a great sound, but they still play better than
Mhm.
anything else at their price point, because they just seem to get it right.
Yeah, the solid top one, even at the $400 level, sounded really good. The fit and finish, I was really impressed with on these. The frets were all beautifully done. The nuts were all new bones. Pretty sure the saddles were too. They all played very nice. So I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah.
I know there's like Yamaha has like a little cult following. But I know nothing about the brand. Like I was honestly sure I was going to get that Guild, which is the same price, or I was going to pony up a little bit higher and get the Martin Sapelli one,
Mm-hmm.
that or the Road series. But I was leaning towards the Sapelli one at $799. But I think I'd rather go mahogany over Sapelli. There's just like I'm just not. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to spend the money, I mean, I like a mahogany guitar. Like my Resonator's mahogany. I really like the sound of mahogany. And I could have gone with like flame maple when I bought that one or whatever. And I just like mahogany. But anyway, enough about me. Clifton, you have big news. You should tell us about what you
Oh
have.
man, look what you made me do, right? I was
We didn't
thinking.
make you do anything.
I know. Um, I went off the deep end yesterday, and okay. Let me give you some history. If you haven't been listening to the show, you know that I will not shut up about Cower guitars. Ever since I went to Cower Fest last year, I've just been so impressed with them. And let me just say this: I would be so reluctant to buy a guitar that I've never played. Even if it looks awesome on Instagram or, has everybody raving about it. But I know that I could vouch for Cower guitars because I've went to Cower Fest. I've picked them up at NAMM, the 2 times I've been to NAMM. And every time I, would play one, I'm just like, it's calling my name. So there's some other boutique builders that I'm also interested in down the line, getting a guitar from them as well. But Cower kind of was like the first one to come across my radar. And, around Christmas time, he had ran some deals on the Titan, the KR1. And I kept thinking, okay, well, what would it take for me to do this? And, I just bought my Martin, and so I just couldn't justify it. Well, fast forward to yesterday, And I'm going through Instagram, and he's got this post about doing some spring cleaning. And so I read it, and he says, go check out the story I just made. And it's got this list of just pictures of guitars, no prices. And he was like, just, direct message me an offer if you, interested. And I honed in on the Titans because I was thinking, well, that's probably all I can afford, And so I worked out like would you take this much? And he was like, well, maybe, but you'd have to sacrifice this or whatever, maybe without pickups or something like that. And so I was doing the math, and I was like, I got to thinking about it later that afternoon on to the evening, and I got to looking at the, he had like 3 Arcturuses for sale. And there was one that really spoke to me. Like, I looked at it, and it was this surf green. And I contacted him about it. And I was like, is this one still available? And he's like, yes. And so anyways, we got to talking, and you know what? It just, I found myself getting a whole lot more excited about that one than I ever did about the Titans. Because, I've played the Titans, and they're great. But, like, I've also played the Cower line, and they're just a category in and of themselves, It's a difference. And so, I'm knocking back and forth, and he's got the KR2s that he's running $200 off on right now as well. And that's like it's like basically like the Titan line of the Super Chiefs, which is like his ES335 style guitar, but it's shaped different. And I'm going back and forth and going back and forth. And so anyways, I came to a decision. And so late last night, I ordered the Arcturus. And so I am just stoked because this is pushing me. Okay, so we had talked this week about theoretically, if I was to get a new guitar, what I would do. And I kept saying, well, the main thing is I want something with humbuckers. And this is kind of a Jazz Masters offset style guitar, but I decided to go with the humbuckers in it because that's kind of the one thing that was my like non-negotiable. Like, I wanted a dual humbucker guitar that I kept coming back to. And so that was my non-negotiable. I could do that with this guitar. I could pick out what I wanted. But then the other thing was, and I have to practice what I preach, is I was telling you, Nick, about, you need a guitar that pushes you in the direction that you want to go. Maybe something new, puts you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Well, this whole offset style guitar with it's going to have the mastery bridge and everything, like that's going to be new territory to me. And I'm really hoping, because I knew this to be true when I got my Telly, is that it completely changed the way I played once I got used to it. Okay. And I pick up my Telly and I gravitate towards playing, chicken picking style licks. Yep. I really, I've enjoyed that, but I want something that pushes me in a different direction. And I really think this fits the bill. Like, it's going to be something that I'm excited about. It's challenging, and it's going to push me in some new territory that I haven't really been yet. So I just can't wait to see what kind of songs come out of it and what kind of territory gets covered.
Dude. I cannot see you with a surf green offset guitar. That is just like, because you were showing us like there was the denim one, and I was like, he was gonna go with the denim Titan.
Yeah.
Like, I thought for sure you were going with the denim Titan. And I was like, that looks like a Clifton guitar. But But on the other hand, I have no frame of reference other than what I've seen you play. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's not like, maybe Clifton wants to be a new Clifton. Maybe he wants to be, you're going to get some skinny jeans and you're going to get, he's going to reinvent himself.
That's
Could
it.
be.
Well, kind of been going through like this kind of early
Nah,
30s
that's a great guitar, dude.
midlife crisis, trying to shake things up. So, this is just part of that whole deal.
I think it'll be great for you. You've been talking about wanting a double humbucker guitar for years. I'm glad you went this way rather than going for it like a Les Paul or something, because it'll still have that familiar neck feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's 25 and a half, right?
I think so.
And your first guitar was a Strat, you said, right? A red one.
Yes.
But so you're gonna have that trem again, which is a nice thing, and it's gonna be a little bit more. When those Jazzmaster trims are set up, they're just beautiful playing. They have a great feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it enhances my playing, like helps me pick up some new tools to put in my toolbox, something that kind of pushes me, some new territory. So
Yeah, I think it will. And and the thing is like you already have your Telly, right?
yeah.
I mean, you got your acoustic, your Telly, your Gibson. I mean, those are all pretty generic players. You've got nothing in your arsenal that's like different. And I'm in the same boat. I've got really nothing that's really different, I guess. Like most of my stuff, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that because I have a Les Paul style guitar. I've got a Strat style guitar. I've got a resonator. I've got my parlor. So, I've got a bunch of different kinds of guitars because I get so bored. Mm-hmm. But I don't have so I'm kind of the opposite of you. I don't have that fallback Taylor or like Josh with his fallback Martin. Where if I'm going to reach for a guitar when it matters, that's the guitar I'm going to reach for. My beard is close to that, but a resonator always sounds like a resonator. You cannot make a resophonic guitar and not sound like anything but a resophonic guitar. Yeah. When you want that guitar, when you want that sound, obviously you can't beat them, but they always sound like that. Where I picked up that Yamaha today and it was a completely different tonal palette. Like it was a little crisper. It was a little, and even if I get, I'm probably going to put the retros on that guitar too. But with the ease of play and the access to the 14th fret and, all of that I mentioned, the solid wood mahogany, this will be my first like all solid wood guitar. I just feel like there's more I can do with it. Like it feels more like a palette guitar where like I can sit down. Like I when I picked that guitar up, I wanted to write. Like stuff just started coming out,
Yeah.
Just with the way it rang out. Like I don't really have a guitar that rings out like that. Like you got to play my guitars, other than the resonator, which is a different deal altogether in my opinion. But you really got to kind of beat my guitars hard to get them to do that. And I really pick hard. That one I could just like delicately pick it, and the soundboard was just like alive. And that was even with dead strings. The soundboard was just alive. You could hear the most intricate little notes. And I was like, that's what I need. This is what I need right here and what I've been missing.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing. And that's another reason why I really think you ought to get that one, Nick, because there's no guarantee that the other one might not. That one might have something funny with the braces. Maybe they were a little bit lighter. Maybe they were shaved more. Maybe they just happened to line up perfectly with the grain in the wood. It's with acoustic guitars, it's so different, especially with the ones of that size, because there's so much that goes into it. And if the top is resonating, and that's why I liked mine, because I would play an open E chord and it would kick me in the stomach. The back would move. And if that thing pumps, like we were talking about the arch tops, if that thing you feel that top pumping and you feel that back hitting you in the stomach, then that's the guitar you ought to get, man.
Oh, totally. And the back was, it moved. Like you could feel it. Like you could feel it moving up against my stomach. And I was like,
be your guitar then.
Yeah, the whole thing is resonating. And I was like, oh man, this is it. So hopefully I can bottle all this passion and like put it into a way that I can talk to my wife about it. I'm pretty sure that Jess is going to say, yes, go ahead and get it. We have taxes coming back. and my bow's paid off because she just got a bow, which kind of helps my case a little bit. And she doesn't listen to the podcast, so I'm fine talking about this. Um, but she's just got a new longbow, and we paid it off quickly, and she was really shocked at how fast we paid it off. And I was like, I kind of set up, we've had this Fifth Third account for a really long time that we just put like a certain amount from my paycheck into that I forget about all the time. And it's actually just like built up in addition to our savings account. And that's what we paid her bow off with. And I was like, that didn't take me very long. This won't take me that long to make a $700 purchase, especially with taxes. So this is not something that's going to hurt us financially or anything. It's just something I think I can appreciate. And plus, I'm like going through what Clifton was going through. It's not like a midlife crisis, but it's more of like, I just keep buying stupid little things like to make my stuff sound better. Like, whether I'm buying like pedals or I'm buying a strap or cables or like just little things. I have this itch to buy something, but I honestly, if I didn't get all that stuff and just got this, I'm going to really appreciate this. This is going to be something that I'm like, and it'll retain some value too. I mean, it's a solid wood guitar that's around the $700 mark. If I have it 15 years from now, it's going to be worth more. So, I don't really have anything that I can sell that I'm not going to lose money on. So I don't plan on selling this, but you get what I mean. Like, it has some value. Like, I need one guitar in my arsenal that's untouched. I don't have to mod. That's going to have some value. So yeah, anyway, I'm really excited about it. And Clifton, I'm really stoked that you got that thing, dude. How long do you think it's going to take?
Well, he said that it depends on the mastery. He has to order that because it was cut out for the mastery, so he's got to put that in there. But he said that's like 3 or 4 weeks, probably, typically. And I'm assuming that, once he gets that, he'll be able to, maybe some other things he can work on, like the neck and everything in the meantime. He was going to order the pickups today, too, for it. So he's going to have some Seth lovers. And,
nice.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
Well,
you're going to love it, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you went with the pickups too, Clifton. Like I've gone down that road where it's like, well, you can buy, if you don't get this and you don't get that, you can shave $200 and afford it. Then you're like, why didn't I just do that and just get the damn pickups in it?
Yeah, I agree, because I'm already like, I had, when I was talking about the Titan, like that was the price that I'd offered was like, well, that wasn't going to come with pickups. I was going to have to source my own. And I was cool with like, contacting like one of the pickup builders that I know about getting a set. But then it's like you're trying to build this guitar and you're trying to order these pickups that need to be made and sent to Cower, and just didn't want to fool with all. I mean, by the time the price break he was giving on this other guitar and him throwing in the pickups as part of the price, I was like, let's just go that route. It's going to be simple. I trust Doug that he's going to put good sounding stuff in there. All his pickups sound amazing that he puts in his guitars. So,
and Seth Lover's a good pickup too.
Yeah, this got a good reputation. And I forgot to mention something. I got so excited about this guitar that I picked up a project this week as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of kicking myself. I don't know what I've gotten into, but I saw this.
Do not kick yourself.
Yeah.
I think you did fine, but yeah, go ahead and tell them what you got.
Well, I got a Mesa Boogie 50 caliber made in 1989. I saw it listed on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a guy that I had actually met at a house show that I went to a couple years back, and he had it for sale. And he said wasn't putting out sound, so I messaged him, and he was like, "Yeah, I got this from somebody. I thought I was gonna, work on this. Never had the time, and so I'm just ready to pass it along." And I was like, "Okay, well, cool." I'm thinking, well, maybe it needs like at the most like an output transformer or whatever. And the price was decent at just a salvage price. So I went down Monday night and got it. And when I got there, I noticed there was a lot of rust on the chassis. And I was a little concerned, but I was like, you know what? I'm still going to do this. I drove all the way down here. Well, I get back Tuesday, and I take it apart. and it's pretty corroded in there. And like the cab, when I took it out of the chassis out of the cab, like there's a film of like this mud like substance all through it. And I was like, oh no, I don't know if this is taking on water, set in water. I'm not really sure. The circuit board looks okay, but the jacks and the pots and all that looks just terrible. And so I was thinking, you know what? I don't really want to invest in just an output transformer and then crank that baby up and it blows it, So I've contacted a tech that I've sent an amp to before, and I'm okay with light repairs, but when it comes into trying to pinpoint exactly what's wrong and you can't tell, I don't have a oscilloscope or anything like that to put it on the bench and test.
This could be a rabbit hole that you do not want to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, testing every single, but plus dangerous. I mean, unless you got to bleed the chassis, and you got to go in and like power it up slowly and then figure out what's going on. And I think it's worth it just to have this guy give you a diagnosis.
I'm more than willing to pay an hour bench fee just for him to tell me what's wrong with it, hopefully. And then we can address whether or not I want to go forward with it.
Totally.
And he reminded me, I said, I'm interested in getting this restored. And he said, this amp is only worth about $600 or $700 in good condition. And he was like, I wouldn't say restore is the right word that you would want to do, because you're going to be upside down in this. And I think what he means is taking every component apart and cleaning it out and sanding down the chassis and redoing everything. But he said, I can repair this probably, and you may come out on it. So I just want to find out what's wrong with it, if it's worth it. There's always somebody who will want to take it on as a project if I decide to pass on it. And they can know right up front, hey, this is what's going on with this thing. Nothing to hide about it. And so
you just fill up a garbage bag full of rice and just put the amp in there.
Well, it looks like there's no water in it anymore. It's just whatever damage was done. It could have, sat out in a barn for all I know, where there was moisture.
Just got muck in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's bat poop. You've got guano all over your amp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's a good. I mean, you didn't pay much for it. I think you're going to come out okay. Because if you think about it, like even if you just cleaned up the inside of the cab, I mean, that cab has to be worth $100 to somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, that's like one of the most expensive things when you build an amp. It's like transformer cab.
Yeah.
I mean.
And if all else fails, you can turn it around and you can hang it on the wall. You can put some books in it or something.
Just someone nail this to the wall. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, it's an art project now. We're like my Goodwill guitar.
That's too funny.
Hey, we should get into picks, guys.
Yeah.
Got some exciting.
Well, I guess I'm going to go first on this. Now, let me tell a little bit about this before we play this clip. There's this guy I met at Summer NAMM last year, Sam Blakelock. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And he is from New Zealand, but he lives in New York City. He's a working guitarist, and he's got an Instagram channel called he's done several things. You could follow him. He does. He's like a jazz guitarist, and he does a thing. He's got a thing called Pickup Jazz, and then he's got another one, Pickup Music, I believe. And he's gotten in this new venture where he videos live performances, things kind of in the music scene that you're not gonna typically see at big shows. But it's very much like an insider's look into the music industry. And he did a session out in LA. I saw him out at winter now. I didn't get to talk to him, but I'm assuming he probably did this while he was out there or near about. And he had Mason Stoops, which played at the taco party I went to. Mason Stoops has a house there in L.A., and apparently they did this event where several L.A. musicians, session musicians, they got together and did a house show, and they just took turns performing. And Sam had the cameras rolling and had it recording, and he's got a YouTube channel with all this stuff up on there, and it's really good stuff. So if you don't mind, go ahead and play that clip, if you will. And so this got it's a girl named Ayla Tesler Mabe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And Art Menezes, and they're doing like this guitar battle, and that's just one of the clips. And a really hot band with a bassist and drummer. And if you go through and you watch the different ones, there's all kind of different performances, but just the musical level and seeing the pure joy that these people are playing is it's pretty infectious. And so that's my pick for this week. Go check out Pickup, look it up on YouTube, subscribe to it. It's really, really good stuff, and you're gonna see some people that you probably have never heard of, and who are just killing it.
Nice. I was grouping, dude. That's a great tune.
Yeah.
So,
What about you, Josh?
My pick for this week is probably somebody everybody's heard of because he's doing a big marketing campaign right now. But it's Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. They've got a new album out, and I can't remember. I don't think this is from the new one, but I really like this song a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and play it for you. It's called You Worry Me.
Am I crazy or the wind is gonna blow me down? I'm gonna leave it all out there to dry. I'm gonna leave it all out there. I'm gonna leave it all out there to dry. I'm gonna leave it all there.
Now, what I like about his stuff is that I think they record that in the Stax studio, and they get that classic Stax type sound. But not only that, he's got this voice that just everything he says sounds honest,
Yeah.
And so he can sing these songs in that if anybody else sang it, it would sound fake. But with him, it's real, And that's the feeling I get from him. And also, his band is just a band. It feels like a band. It feels like they're all playing in a room, and it feels like in all the recordings, they just know what they're doing. And then if you watch like their live shows, man, they're just tight as a band. I would say if you haven't given them a shot because of the one hit they had, SOB, try the other songs too, because that one is kind of their worst song. Everything else is even better than that. But that's the one that hit because it's the most idiomatic. It's kind of got that instantly recognizable sound. But he started out for years and years as a straight up folk singer, and he'd go around, and this is interesting. I don't know if you knew this, Nick, but he'd go around touring with a giant or with it was a giant Fender amp, 212 or something like that, with a whole bunch of reverb, but he'd plug a classical guitar into it. And he'd use that and he would stand up, and everybody, like I watched this documentary on Netflix, Austin to Boston, and everybody, whenever they talked about him with a sense of reverence. They're like, I don't know how he does what he does. He plays for like an hour and everybody's just spellbound the whole time. And so that's actually what got me interested in him before I even found this Night Sweat stuff, where he discovered how much he loves the R&B stuff and to get that sound and put that band together. And you can kind of see by the end of that documentary, you see him going in that direction. Kind of. He buys himself a Telecaster and he's playing with everybody else, and you're like, okay, now I can see why I went in that direction, because that's where he was always headed. But he starts out almost like Bob Dylan-esque, but with a little bit of unusual stuff, because plugging in a classical guitar into a Fender amp with a big reverb is a really unusual sound, but it really worked with his voice.
Yeah.
So that's my pick for this week. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, or just look up Nathaniel Rateliff, and his previous stuff is really good too. What about you, Nick?
Actually, mine kind of fits in with yours, because so on Spotify, I found a list that's blues and roots rock, it's called. I don't know if you've seen it, but that's where I found Luke Winslow King, who's really good. But Nathaniel Rateliff's on there several times, and so is this band, and they're called the Suitcase Junket, and it's a one-man band, and I am going to read a little more about this guy named Matt Lorenz, who's the one-man band for this particular, the Suitcase Junket, his name. And I'll talk about that in the Mojo Minute, but go ahead and roll that, Josh.
In your veins, how could past pleasure produce such pain? How could past pleasure produce such pain? That for my desire, head of poison, skin of fire. One taste and you must have more stem to seed and flesh to cord. Stem to seed and flesh to cord. Took with you all color and sound. I wait for your return. Feeling cold, feeling burned, feeling cold, and feeling burned.
Wow.
That's one guy. I mean, that sounds huge, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Sure.
I've heard this guy is absolutely insane live. Like, he kind of reminds me of Lincoln Durham too. He's got that look where he's got the waxed mustache and he's just looks really strung out and like, but yeah, there's this kind of like little like folk grunge revival thing going on. Like, these one-man bands seem to be getting more popular. And I'll talk more about this guy's rig if you guys are ready on the
I'm ready.
Mojo Minute. I am not used to how this guitar rings out with these strings. That's crazy.
Sounds great.
Anyway, so the guy that plays in that band, the Suitcase Junket, is Matt Lorenz. And I found a article about him in Acoustic Guitar. And I remember I stumbled on this guy randomly. I had no idea who it was. I thought this was like kind of like Blackbird Hill, kind of like a band deal. I had no idea it was a one-man band. But it says, Suitcase Junket was born the day Matt Lorenz reached inside a dumpster and pulled out an old moldy acoustic guitar. He took it home, washed it with vinegar, and found one tuning that actually worked, Open C, which brought out the rumble in the guitar's low strings and the rattle in its highs. In a stroke of genius, he paired it with his newfound trick, overtone singing. With other people and collecting junk, Lorenz went solo. In an age of multi-tracking, he's an old-school one-man band, and no matter how difficult, he's doing each part really well. With his feet, he plays a discarded film reel as a cymbal, a box of silverware as a tambourine, a circular saw blade as his crash, a cooking pot as a snare, a galvanized heat duct as his tom, and an extra large suitcase bass drum that also serves as his throne. With his hands, he plays the keyboard and that old acoustic guitar outfitted with a pickup and overdriven to make it roar. He sings in a Dylan-esque tenor that sounds heartbroken 1 minute and a million miles away the next, and he writes songs that'll make you bleed. I mean, how cool is that?
That's amazing. And I want to say something. You've got to go look this up on YouTube and watch this guy, because just the watching him perform is like the most intriguing thing. I mean, it sounds amazing, but watching it just adds another dimension to it, because this guy's entertaining. And also, I want to add that he looks like he could be like Kevin Equich's evil twin brother, like Devin. I mean,
we have found Devin, and he's playing in a one-man band.
He's out there one-man banding.
I know, it's just crazy. And like the start of that song, Earth Apple, he's like singing into the guitar pickup. He's using like a humbucking Earth pickup or one of those. Actually, it's like
or something. I think
it's a Fishman. It's a cheap Fishman, or it's a Fishman Rare Earth. Yeah, it's like the only thing he has that's worth any money in his whole setup. And this guitar is like an old beat up Parlor, and he's just thrashing on this thing. And I don't know. I love this stuff. This kind of thing is like a perfect example of the Mojo Minute artist to me. I mean, it's absolutely like, it's whatever it's like he crafted something out of nothing. And a lot of it's a singing, no doubt about it. Like how did this guy taught himself how to sing like that, and do that Hill style kind of overtone droning over the top of that really low distorted guitar. And actually, to pull that off, he probably would have to have the guitar really low. That sounds like it suits him really well. Yeah. But he's not even trying to be. I mean, and some of those, I mean, that's a good example of a really hard song that he plays, like as far as like the way it sounds and how grungy it is. But he cleans up actually really well, and he plays a lot of hill country blues stuff and folk stuff. That CD, actually, the CD that it's on, I might actually buy it. It's called Make Time. Okay. He's got 5 CDs. So I mean. Yeah, I just think it's crazy how you can take something like that. I mean, what about all that junk? He's playing junk, like all of it. It's all stuff he found like in the trash, and that is just nuts to me.
It's like he's channeling something from like way, way, way back in the past, like in his music and his theme. It's almost like if I was to, I don't know, if I caught a flight to Dublin and like went and hung out there for several weeks and went to little small places where people were playing music, like it just seems like you would find something like that there.
Mm-hmm. What it reminds me of is there's a in New Orleans there is a street right beside the church there, the big Catholic church. I can't remember the name of that street is,
St.
but
Peter's?
There'll be it's got a bunch of one-man bands and like performers on it, like almost all year round there.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that, where each person that goes and sits there has to have their own thing. And we watched 2 or 3 different one-man bands when we were there last, and we're like, wow, this is just crazy, the level of talent and ability, and also the creativity that goes into it. And I mean, I saw a lot of people do it, the suitcase bass and everything like that, bass drum, but I'd never seen anybody do it with that kind of intensity. He's doing it right there, and to do it filmed and to have that kind of huge sound by himself, that's just awesome.
Are you talking about Decatur Street? I think
that's it, Decatur. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. You
Josh,
go down Decatur Street. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You go down Decatur Street, and it's like you'll walk by the most impressive musicians playing absolute junk instruments and junk stuff, but making this incredible music. And then you go to the next one, and they'll be outdoing the previous musician. And you go to the next one, and they'll be outdoing the previous musician, and they'll be doing something completely different. Just playing improvised stuff. It's just incredible. Improvised equipment. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, what if you like go to a folk festival and this dude's there. Like if you were walking around in a school and then one room that's got this guy playing in it.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, and I think one-man bands always draw quite a lot of attention. He actually reminds me a lot of my friend Craig Johnson. He does more of a noise rock type stuff, but he can do all that. He does a lot of one-man band stuff. And when I was in high school, we'd be playing and we'd stop for a couple minutes, and he'd be playing drums. He'd pick up a bass, and he'd put a kazoo in his mouth, and he'd just sit there jamming with a bass and a kazoo and hitting the drums with his feet, doing the kick drum and this hi hat and yes. So it just brings back memories actually, kind of. Although he never really liked blues that much. If he did, he'd probably be doing that right there. That's just such a cool sound for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really glad I stumbled onto these to this guy. By the way, that blues roots list on Spotify, it's just blues and roots rock. There's another one called the New Retro, and that one's another really good list. But there's like all kinds of people on there, like Kaleo and Raylan Baxter and the Weeks, the Barr Brothers, Tyler Childers is on there. The Weather Station, they're really good. Justin Towns Earl, the Delta Saints, Sturgill Simpson. I mean, there's a bunch of people on this list. Whoever made this list is just awesome. Yeah. So Sun Volt, definitely check this out. So that's all I got, guys.
Awesome. Well, that was a really cool pick, and I enjoy the Nathaniel Rateliff as well. That I love the sound on that track. Like the way the reverb on the guitar and the bass is pumping. It's good. Mm-hmm. It's good. So, well, guys, this has been a fun episode. There's a lot going on in our lives, and certainly a lot to talk about. But if we want to continue the discussion, if you've got a question about any of this, head on over to the Facebook group and we'll talk about it. We have a lot of fun just hashing it out and keeping the discussion going. So hope to see you guys over there. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to this. We're on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube. You can find us any of those places, and so go check it out. And thanks for listening.